There comes a moment in every person's life when nothing goes according to plan. The career you worked for begins to fall apart. The relationship you trusted suddenly changes. The opportunity you waited years to receive disappears in a single day. In those moments, life asks a question that no school, no book, and no amount of success can answer for you. How will you respond when everything around you feels uncertain? Most people spend their lives trying to avoid problems. They believe that happiness exists somewhere beyond struggle, as if life will finally begin once every difficulty has disappeared. But look carefully at reality. Every person you admire has faced challenges. Every meaningful achievement has required sacrifice. Every strong character has been shaped by adversity. Problems are not signs that life is against you. They are signs that life is asking you to grow. The first mistake people make is believing that every problem deserves an immediate emotional reaction. Something unexpected happens, and within seconds the mind begins creating stories. My life is ruined. Nothing ever works for me. I'll never recover from this. Notice that none of these thoughts solve the problem. They only multiply the suffering. A single event becomes hundreds of imaginary disasters created by an uncontrolled mind. Before solving any problem, you must first protect your peace. If your emotions are in control, your decisions will rarely be wise. A storm outside your window is dangerous enough. A storm inside your mind makes everything worse. Learn to pause before reacting. A calm mind sees possibilities that a panicked mind can never recognize. Every problem has two parts. There is the situation itself, and then there is your response to it. The situation may not always be your choice, but your response always belongs to you. This is where your true power exists. You cannot always choose what life brings, but you can choose the attitude you bring to life. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain. Looking at the entire climb feels overwhelming. The distance seems impossible. But mountains are never climbed in one step. They are climbed one step at a time. Problems work exactly the same way. Stop asking how you will solve everything. Ask yourself what the next right action is. Small, consistent actions have a way of defeating problems that once seemed impossible. Many people waste enormous amounts of energy asking, "Why me?" It is a question that rarely produces wisdom. Instead, ask, "What is this situation trying to teach me?" Every challenge carries a lesson hidden beneath its discomfort. Sometimes it teaches patience, sometimes courage, sometimes discipline. Sometimes it teaches you to let go of people, habits, or beliefs that have quietly been holding you back. Do not expect life to become easier simply because you are trying your best. Difficulties do not disappear for good people. They appear because difficulty is part of being human. The goal is not to build a life without problems. The goal is to become the kind of person who remains steady regardless of the problems that appear. One of the greatest mistakes is believing that strength means never feeling afraid. Fear is natural. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward even while fear is present. Every successful person has doubted themselves. Every brave person has felt uncertainty. What separates them from everyone else is that they refuse to let fear make their decisions. Sometimes the biggest problem is not what happened to you. It is what you continue telling yourself about what happened. If you repeat the story of your pain every day, your mind begins living in the past. You become trapped inside an experience that no longer exists. Healing begins when you stop building your identity around your wounds and start building it around your values. There will always be things beyond your control. You cannot control the weather, the economy, other people's opinions, or unexpected events. But you can always control your honesty, your discipline, your effort, your patience, your words, and your character. The more attention you give to what you can control, the less power you give to everything you cannot. Problems also reveal the people around you. Some will disappear the moment life becomes difficult. Others will stand beside you without expecting anything in return. Hardship has a remarkable way of removing illusions. It shows you which relationships are built on convenience and which are built on loyalty. Do not resent this process. Clarity is one of the greatest gifts that difficult times can offer. Never compare your struggles with someone else's success. You are seeing only the chapter they choose to show the world. Every person carries battles that remain invisible. Comparison steals your energy while adding nothing to your progress. Focus instead on becoming slightly stronger than you were yesterday. Real competition is not with another person. It is with the version of yourself that wants to give up. Discipline becomes your greatest ally during difficult seasons. Motivation disappears when life becomes uncomfortable, but discipline continues working. It reminds you to wake up, to keep learning, to take care of your health, to fulfill your responsibilities, and to continue moving even when progress feels painfully slow. Small acts repeated every day eventually create extraordinary results. Never allow a temporary problem to convince you that your future has already been decided. Life changes more quickly than most people realize. The opportunity you cannot see today may arrive tomorrow. The answer you desperately need may appear after one more attempt. The strength you believe you lack may already be growing through the very struggle you wish would end. Every difficult season eventually asks the same question. Will this experience make you weaker or wiser? Bitter or compassionate? Fearful or courageous? The problem cannot decide the answer. Only you can. Your circumstances influence your journey, but your choices shape your destination. The moment you stop seeing problems as punishments and begin seeing them as opportunities to develop resilience, patience, wisdom, discipline, humility, courage, and unshakable inner strength, you become someone who is no longer waiting for life to become easier because you have become stronger than the obstacles standing in your path. Every person hopes for a life without difficulties, yet moments that shape us the most rarely arrive during comfort. Growth does not happen when everything goes according to plan. It begins when life becomes uncertain, when expectations are broken, and when we are forced to face situations we never wanted. Problems are not interruptions to life. They are part of the process that develops wisdom, strength, and character. While comfort allows us to rest, challenges invite us to discover abilities we never knew we possessed. Most people see problems as enemies because they immediately focus on the pain they create. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" instead of asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" This single shift in perspective changes everything. A problem remains the same, but your relationship with it becomes completely different. Instead of resisting every obstacle, you begin observing it. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. Curiosity opens the door to learning, while resistance keeps you trapped in frustration. Think about every skill you have today. None of them appeared overnight. You learned by making mistakes, correcting them, and trying again. Failure was not the opposite of learning. It was the path toward it. Every mistake carried valuable information that success could never provide. Success often hides weaknesses because everything appears to work. Failure exposes those weaknesses with complete honesty. It reveals where your patience is limited, where your confidence depends on approval, and where your habits need improvement. Although these discoveries may be uncomfortable, they are also incredibly valuable. A problem has a unique way of revealing your true character. It strips away appearances and leaves only your genuine response. Anyone can remain calm when life is easy. Anyone can smile when everything goes according to plan. But when circumstances become difficult, your habits, beliefs, and emotional discipline are tested. These moments do not create your character, they reveal it. Once you see yourself clearly, you also see what needs to change. Many people waste enormous amounts of energy wishing their problems would disappear. They fight reality instead of accepting that it already exists. Acceptance does not mean you enjoy suffering or give up hope. It simply means you stop arguing with what cannot be changed in the present moment. The moment you stop asking life to be different, your energy becomes available for action. Instead of carrying the heavy weight of resistance, you begin carrying the lighter responsibility of finding solutions. Every problem contains a hidden question. Sometimes the question is asking whether you can remain patient. Sometimes it asks whether you can forgive. Other times it asks whether you have the courage to leave a situation that no longer serves you. The challenge is never random. It often points directly toward the lesson you have been avoiding. The more you ignore the lesson, the more often similar challenges seem to appear in different forms. Imagine a piece of metal being forged into a strong sword. It is exposed to intense heat, repeated pressure, and countless strikes from a hammer. Without that process, it remains an ordinary piece of metal. The pressure does not destroy its potential, it shapes it. Human beings are remarkably similar. Difficult experiences apply pressure that reveals resilience, wisdom, and endurance that comfort alone could never develop. This is why two people can experience the same hardship and emerge completely differently. One becomes bitter, convinced that life has treated them unfairly. The other becomes wiser, more compassionate, and mentally stronger. The difference is not found in the problem itself, but in the attitude brought to it. Circumstances influence your life, but your interpretation of those circumstances determines who you become. When challenges arrive, they also expose hidden attachments. Perhaps you discover that your happiness depends entirely on other people's opinion. Maybe you realize your confidence disappears the moment you fail. You may notice that you constantly seek certainty in a world that can never promise it. These discoveries are not punishments. They are opportunities to free yourself from habits and beliefs that quietly limit your life. There is a quiet strength that develops only after repeated encounters with difficulty. It cannot be borrowed from books, purchased with money, or inherited from someone else. It is earned through experience. Every obstacle you overcome leaves behind evidence that you are stronger than you once believed. The next challenge may still be difficult, but it no longer feels impossible because you carry the memory of every previous victory, every lesson learned, every fear faced, every setback survived, and every moment when you chose growth instead of surrender. Most people believe their peace depends on what is happening around them. They think they will finally feel calm when their problems disappear, when people begin treating them better, when they earn more money, or when life becomes predictable. This way of thinking gives away the greatest source of personal power. If your emotional state is controlled by external circumstances, then your happiness will always remain fragile because the outside world is constantly changing. Real strength begins when you understand that before you can influence your circumstances, you must first learn to govern your own mind. Your mind is like the lens through which you experience reality. Two people can stand in the same situation, witness the same event, and leave with completely different emotions. One feels defeated while the other sees an opportunity. The difference is not the circumstance itself, but the way the mind interprets it. The world does not simply happen to you. It passes through your thoughts before it becomes your experience. Learning to guide those thoughts is one of the most valuable skills anyone can develop. Many people spend their entire lives trying to control things that were never within their power. They try to control other people's opinions, unexpected events, the past, the future, and outcomes that depend on countless factors beyond their influence. This endless struggle creates anxiety because the mind is fighting battles it can never truly win. The more energy you invest in controlling the uncontrollable, the less energy remains for the one thing that is always available to you, your own response. Every difficult situation first enters through your perception. Before you speak, before you act, before you make a decision, your mind creates a story about what is happening. Sometimes that story is accurate, but often it is shaped by fear, assumptions, past disappointments, or imagined futures that have not yet happened. A single negative thought quickly becomes another, and before long, your emotions begin reacting to a reality that exists only inside your imagination. This is why an uncontrolled mind can create suffering even when no immediate danger exists. Mental discipline does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. Emotions are natural signals, but they should inform your decisions rather than control them. Fear can warn you to prepare. Anger can reveal that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness can remind you of something meaningful. Yet when emotions become the driver instead of the passenger, they lead to impulsive choices that often create even greater problems. A disciplined mind acknowledges emotions without allowing them to take complete control. Imagine the mind as the captain of a ship sailing through unpredictable waters. Storms will appear whether you welcome them or not. Strong winds, high waves, and dark skies are all beyond your control. If the captain panics every time the weather changes, the ship becomes impossible to steer. But when the captain remains steady, observes carefully, and responds with wisdom instead of fear, the same storm becomes something that can be navigated rather than something that guarantees disaster. Life constantly presents situations that test your emotional balance. Someone criticizes you unfairly. Plans fail unexpectedly. Opportunities disappear without explanation. In those moments, your first reaction often arrives automatically, shaped by years of habits and conditioning. However, between that first reaction and your next action lies a small space. Within that space exists your freedom. The ability to pause, observe your thoughts, and choose a wiser response is what separates emotional maturity from emotional impulsiveness. A calm mind is not a mind without thoughts. It is a mind that refuses to chase every thought that appears. Just because an anxious idea enters your awareness does not mean you must believe it. Just because your inner voice predicts failure does not mean failure is inevitable. Thoughts are events within the mind, not permanent truths. The moment you learn to observe them without immediately identifying with them, they begin losing much of their power over your decisions. Your attention is one of your greatest resources. Wherever attention goes, energy follows. If your attention remains trapped on fear, resentment, comparison, or regret, those emotions become stronger. If your attention is directed toward learning, preparation, gratitude, and purposeful action, your inner world gradually becomes more stable regardless of external uncertainty. Attention is like sunlight. Whatever it consistently shines upon begins to grow. True confidence is not built because life guarantees easy outcomes. It develops because you trust your ability to remain steady regardless of what happens. This confidence cannot be given by praise, wealth, or success because it is rooted in self-mastery rather than external validation. When the mind becomes disciplined, circumstances lose much of their ability to disturb your inner peace, allowing clear judgment, patient action, thoughtful decisions, emotional resilience, unwavering focus, and quiet strength to emerge even in the middle of uncertainty. One of the greatest causes of human suffering is not the problem itself, but the refusal to accept that it already exists. People spend countless hours wishing reality were different. They replay conversations that cannot be changed, imagine alternative outcomes that never happened, and resist circumstances that are already part of their lives. This silent battle against reality drains emotional energy without changing a single fact. The moment you stop fighting what has already happened, you create space for something far more valuable: the ability to respond with wisdom. Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many people believe accepting reality means giving up, becoming passive, or allowing life to control them. In truth, acceptance is neither weakness nor surrender. It is the clear recognition of what is real. You cannot solve a problem that you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot heal a wound while pretending it does not exist. Acceptance is simply the decision to see things exactly as they are before deciding what to do next. Imagine standing in the middle of a powerful rainstorm. You may become angry that the rain has started. You may complain that the weather is unfair or insist it should have remained sunny. None of these reactions stop the rain from falling. While your attention is consumed by resistance, you forget to find shelter or open an umbrella. Reality continues regardless of your opinion. Wisdom begins when you stop arguing with the weather and start adapting to it. Life often presents situations that are beyond your control. People leave unexpectedly, plans fail despite careful preparation, illness appears without invitation. Opportunities disappear, and mistakes cannot always be undone. These experiences are painful, but the suffering grows even larger when the mind refuses to let go of what should have been. Every sentence beginning with "this shouldn't have happened" quietly traps you inside a reality that no longer exists. The present moment becomes hidden behind endless arguments with the past. Responding wisely requires a calm and observant mind. Before taking action, you must first understand the situation clearly. Panic clouds judgment because it focuses only on immediate discomfort. Wisdom asks different questions. Instead of asking why life is unfair, it asks what can be learned. Instead of searching for someone to blame, it searches for the next meaningful step. Instead of demanding certainty, it develops the courage to move forward despite uncertainty. Every challenge contains two parts. The first is the event itself. The second is your reaction to it. While you cannot always choose the event, you always influence your response. This is where personal responsibility begins. Your response shapes your decisions, your relationships, and your future. An uncontrolled reaction often creates additional problems that never existed in the original situation. A thoughtful response prevents unnecessary suffering from multiplying. Many people believe strength means never feeling disappointed, afraid, or frustrated. True strength is different. It allows emotions to exist without allowing them to become permanent rulers of the mind. You can acknowledge sadness without becoming hopeless. You can experience fear without becoming paralyzed. You can feel anger without allowing it to decide your actions. Wisdom does not eliminate emotion. It places emotion in its proper place. Nature offers countless examples of intelligent adaptation. A tree does not fight the wind by becoming rigid. During a storm, it bends just enough to avoid breaking. Water does not waste energy pushing against every obstacle. It flows around rocks, finding another path without losing its direction. Flexibility is not weakness. It is one of the greatest expressions of strength because it allows progress even when circumstances change unexpectedly. The habit of resisting reality often begins with expectations. We create detailed pictures of how life should unfold, how people should behave, and how quickly success should arrive. When reality fails to match those expectations, disappointment follows. Expectations themselves are not the problem. The problem begins when we become attached to them so completely that we reject every other possibility. A wise person remains committed to meaningful goals while remaining flexible about the path that leads there. Responding wisely also requires patience. Not every situation demands immediate action. Sometimes the best response is to pause, gather information, and allow emotions to settle before making important decisions. Impulsive reactions usually satisfy temporary emotions while creating long-term consequences. Careful responses may take more time, but they often produce better results because they are guided by clarity rather than emotional pressure. Every difficult moment offers a choice. You can continue fighting reality, exhausting yourself against something that already exists, or you can accept the present with clear eyes and steady thoughts. Acceptance frees your energy from resistance and directs it toward meaningful action, thoughtful decisions, emotional balance, patient observation, practical solutions, inner resilience, and purposeful growth while remaining fully present with life, exactly as it is many people search for peace in perfect circumstances. They believe peace will arrive when life becomes easier, when stress disappears, or when every problem has finally been solved. Yet, life has never promised a future without uncertainty. Challenges appear without warning, plans change overnight, and situations beyond your control become part of every human journey. If your peace depends entirely on comfortable circumstances, then it will disappear the moment difficulty arrives. Lasting peace is not created by an easy life. It is created by discipline, because discipline gives the mind stability even when the outside world becomes unpredictable. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment or restriction. Many people imagine endless rules, rigid routines, and constant sacrifice. In reality, discipline is simply the ability to choose what is right over what is easy. It is the quiet habit of acting according to your values instead of your temporary emotions. While motivation comes and goes, discipline remains steady. Motivation depends on how you feel. Discipline depends on what you decide. When life is comfortable, almost anyone can maintain good habits. It is easy to stay patient when nothing is testing your patience. It is easy to remain positive when everything is going according to plan. The true value of discipline only becomes visible during difficult times. Those moments reveal whether your actions are controlled by your emotions or by your principles. A disciplined person continues moving forward even when enthusiasm disappears, because consistency has become stronger than comfort. Imagine a lighthouse standing on the edge of a rocky coastline. Calm days require very little from it. The true purpose of the lighthouse becomes visible during violent storms, when powerful waves crash against the shore and visibility disappears. Its light remains steady because it was built to withstand difficult conditions. Human discipline serves the same purpose. Daily habits strengthen your inner foundation, long before life's storms arrive. Every small act of discipline prepares you for future challenges. Waking up when you promised yourself you would, completing responsibilities even when you do not feel inspired, practicing patience instead of reacting impulsively, speaking honestly when lying would be easier, saving money instead of spending carelessly, choosing healthy habits instead of temporary pleasures. None of these decisions seem extraordinary on their own, but together they shape a mind that remains reliable under pressure. One of the greatest enemies of peace is emotional impulsiveness. Without discipline, every emotion becomes a command. Anger demands immediate action, fear demands retreat, laziness encourages delay, anxiety creates endless overthinking. When emotions control your behavior, your inner world becomes chaotic because emotions naturally change from moment to moment. Discipline creates a healthy distance between feeling and action. It allows you to recognize emotions without becoming their servant. The disciplined mind understands that comfort is not always beneficial. Some of the greatest opportunities for growth require temporary discomfort. Learning new skills requires patience. Building physical strength requires effort. Developing meaningful relationships requires forgiveness and understanding. Achieving important goals often demands consistency long after excitement has faded. Discipline accepts temporary discomfort because it values long-term peace more than short-term pleasure. There is also a quiet confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you strengthen trust in your own character. You begin believing that your decisions matter because your actions consistently support them. This self-trust becomes an incredible source of peace during uncertain times. Even when circumstances become difficult, you know you can rely on yourself to continue taking meaningful steps forward. Daily routines may appear ordinary, yet they provide remarkable stability. A simple morning routine, regular exercise, mindful breathing, focused work, reading, or moments of silence all train the mind to value consistency over distraction. These habits become anchors during emotional storms. When life feels uncertain, disciplined routines remind you that not everything has changed. They create order when chaos tries to take over. Discipline also protects you from unnecessary suffering. Many of life's greatest regrets are not caused by bad luck, but by repeated moments of poor self-control. Harsh words spoken in anger, unhealthy habits repeated for years, neglected responsibilities, and impulsive decisions often create problems far greater than the original challenges. Discipline acts like a quiet guardian, encouraging thoughtful choices before temporary emotions create lasting consequences. Peace does not come from avoiding responsibility. It comes from meeting responsibility with courage and consistency. Every disciplined action strengthens your ability to remain calm when others become overwhelmed. Every difficult decision made with integrity builds resilience that cannot be purchased or borrowed. Over time, discipline transforms from something you practice into something you become, creating an inner foundation that remains steady through uncertainty, hardship, pressure, unexpected change. Emotional challenges, personal setbacks, and the constant movement of life. Every human being is given the same 24 hours in a day, yet people experience completely different lives. The difference is not always intelligence, talent, or opportunity. More often, it is attention. Your attention determines what you notice, what you remember, what you value, and ultimately who you become. It is one of the most powerful resources you possess, because wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. If your attention is scattered across fear, comparison, and endless distractions, your life gradually reflects those things. If your attention is directed toward growth, discipline, and meaningful action, your life begins to move in that direction. Most people underestimate the value of attention because they give it away so easily. A single negative comment can occupy the mind for days. One unexpected problem can erase the joy created by countless positive experiences. Hours disappear scrolling through information that adds nothing meaningful to life. Without realizing it, many people allow external events to decide where their attention belongs. Instead of choosing what deserves focus, they react automatically to whatever is loudest, newest, or most emotionally stimulating. The mind naturally follows whatever repeatedly captures its attention. If you constantly search for reasons to be worried, your mind becomes highly skilled at finding problems. If you spend every day comparing yourself to others, dissatisfaction quietly becomes your normal state. If you repeatedly focus on past mistakes, regret begins shaping your identity. Attention works like water flowing through a landscape. The more often it follows the same path, the deeper that path becomes. Eventually, certain ways of thinking become habits that operate without conscious effort. Many people believe they are trapped by their circumstances, but often they are trapped by the direction of their attention. Two individuals may face identical challenges. One becomes overwhelmed because every thought centers on everything that could go wrong. The other remains calm because attention stays focused on the next practical step. The situation may be the same, but the experience becomes completely different because the mind is looking in different directions. Imagine holding a flashlight in a completely dark room. Wherever you point, the light immediately becomes visible while everything else remains hidden. Your attention works in exactly the same way. Reality contains both opportunities and obstacles, reasons for gratitude and reasons for frustration, hope and uncertainty. The direction of your attention determines which part of reality becomes most visible. This does not mean ignoring difficulties or pretending problems do not exist. It means refusing to let problems become the only thing your mind can see. Distraction has become one of the greatest challenges of modern life. Every day, countless voices compete for your attention. Notifications, advertisements, opinions, entertainment, and endless streams of information constantly demand your focus. Each interruption may seem insignificant, yet together they gradually weaken your ability to concentrate on what truly matters. A distracted mind struggles to think deeply, make wise decisions, or experience genuine peace because it is always being pulled in another direction. Attention is also closely connected to emotion. Whatever you repeatedly focus on begins influencing how you feel. If your mind constantly returns to anger, that emotion grows stronger. If it repeatedly visits gratitude, appreciation naturally expands. The mind cannot deeply focus on two opposing emotional states at the same time. This is why intentionally directing attention is not an act of denial, but an act of responsibility. You are choosing which emotions deserve to grow within you. Learning to guide your attention requires practice. Thoughts will naturally wander. Unexpected worries will appear. Old memories will return without invitation. The goal is not to prevent these experiences from happening, but to notice them without allowing them to control the direction of your mind. Every time you gently return your attention to what truly matters, you strengthen your ability to remain present instead of becoming lost in unnecessary mental noise. Your relationships are shaped by attention as well. People feel valued when they receive genuine presence rather than divided focus. Listening carefully without preparing your next response. observing another person's emotions without rushing to judgment, and giving your full awareness during conversations all strengthen trust in ways that expensive gifts never can. Attention is one of the purest expressions of respect because it tells another person that, for this moment, they matter more than every distraction competing for your mind. Your future is built from what consistently receives your attention today. Every meaningful achievement begins with sustained focus on small daily actions rather than occasional bursts of motivation. Great skills, deep wisdom, strong character, and lasting peace are not created through scattered effort. They emerge when attention is directed toward what truly matters day after day, allowing purpose, clarity, resilience, patience, self-awareness, disciplined action, and inner strength to quietly grow beyond the reach of distraction. Pain is one of the few experiences that every human being shares. No matter your background, success, age, or position in life, there will be moments that test your heart and challenge your spirit. Loss, failure, rejection, disappointment, betrayal, and uncertainty arrive without asking for permission. While no one willingly chooses these experiences, they often become the turning points that shape a person's deepest strength. Pain itself is unavoidable, but the meaning you give to it is always within your control. The greatest transformations begin when suffering is no longer seen as the end of the story, but as the beginning of a new purpose. Many people spend years trying to escape their pain. They distract themselves with endless entertainment, constant busyness, or temporary pleasures because sitting quietly with difficult emotions feels unbearable. Yet ignored pain does not disappear. It simply waits beneath the surface, influencing decisions, relationships, and self-belief in ways that often go unnoticed. Healing begins not by running away, but by having the courage to face what hurts with honesty instead of fear. Pain has a unique ability to remove illusions. During comfortable times, it is easy to believe that life will always remain predictable. Difficult experiences remind us that certainty has never been guaranteed. Although this realization can feel frightening, it also becomes a source of wisdom. Once you accept the temporary nature of every circumstance, you begin valuing each moment more deeply. Gratitude becomes more genuine because it is no longer based on the assumption that everything will always remain the same. Every painful experience contains hidden information about yourself. It reveals your fears, your expectations, your emotional habits, and the beliefs that quietly guide your actions. A broken relationship may reveal how deeply you depend on external validation. A personal failure may expose the fear of not being good enough. A major disappointment may uncover unrealistic expectations that have shaped your decisions for years. These discoveries are uncomfortable, but they also provide the opportunity for lasting change. Imagine a seed buried beneath the ground. From the outside, it appears trapped in darkness, surrounded by pressure from every direction. Yet the very conditions that seem to bury it are also the conditions that allow it to grow. The seed does not become a tree despite the darkness. It becomes a tree because of it. Human beings often experience growth in much the same way. The seasons that feel like endings frequently become the foundation for entirely new beginnings. Purpose is rarely discovered during moments of complete comfort. It often emerges after life forces you to ask deeper questions. Instead of asking why something painful happened, you begin asking what meaningful action can come from it. Instead of allowing suffering to make you smaller, you choose to let it expand your understanding of yourself and others. This shift changes pain from something that only takes away into something that also gives. Many of the people who inspire others today did not avoid hardship. They learned from it. Their struggles became the source of compassion, wisdom, patience, and resilience. Someone who has experienced loneliness often becomes more attentive to those who feel invisible. Someone who has faced failure develops greater humility and understanding toward others who are struggling. Personal pain has the potential to become a bridge that connects you more deeply with humanity rather than isolating you from it. Transforming pain into purpose does not mean pretending that suffering is enjoyable. It does not require denying grief or forcing yourself to feel positive before you are ready. Genuine transformation begins with acceptance. You acknowledge the hurt without allowing it to define your entire identity. You recognize that something painful happened, but you refuse to believe that the pain itself is the final description of who you are. There is a quiet strength that develops when you stop asking life why it has challenged you and begin asking what kind of person these experiences are inviting you to become. Every difficult moment offers an opportunity to grow in patience, courage, forgiveness, humility, or compassion. While the circumstances themselves may never have been your choice, the character you develop through them remains entirely your own. The most meaningful purpose often grows from the places where you once felt the greatest pain. The wounds that taught you resilience become the wisdom you share with others. The failures that once embarrassed you become reminders of perseverance. The disappointments that once seemed unbearable become evidence of your ability to endure. Over time, what once felt like the heaviest burden can quietly become the strongest foundation for a life guided by compassion, resilience, gratitude, courage, wisdom, service, hope, and unwavering decision to continue moving forward despite every obstacle.